This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Fran Strajnar. Fran is actually the founder of a Brave New Coin and Techemynt and a host of related companies. Fran has been on the podcast, I believe at least twice before, but it has been some time. Well, firstly, welcome back to the show, Fran.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, it's been a while. Great to be back.
Great to have you back. And I think let's just kick it off. We'll do what we always do. Could you please just briefly introduce yourself and tell us what's going on?
Sure, yeah. I'm Fran Strajnar. I'm the founder and chairman of the Techemynt group of companies. I discovered Bitcoin back in 2010. I've been building companies ever since I realized it was the future. So that started around about 2013 with bravenewcoin.com. And from there, we've grown substantially to create Techemynt Capital, now Techemynt. We've created digital asset exchange and blockchain labs, along with a few other businesses. So very focused on infrastructure.
Awesome. Yes, indeed. And well, I've got to say, it's happy Super Bowl Sunday as we record. I don't know about you, Fran. I'm not sure if you're a Super Bowl fan or not, but it's going to be a good halftime show. Got Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, I think, are performing at the halftime show. Also expecting to see quite an array of crypto-related advertisements.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation for a crypto-based advertisement. Look, I'm into sports. I'm not into bread and circuses. So those that enjoy it, let them enjoy it. But it's going to be a pretty different Super Bowl to previous years from what I'm hearing. No
doubt. Well, we're really here today, Fran, to talk about stablecoins and in particular the NZDS, which is a stablecoin backed one for one by the New Zealand dollar. And this, of course, is issued by Techemynt, which is one of your companies. So, yeah, let's get into this. Fran, tell us a little bit about Techemynt and the origin story of the NZDS.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Techemynt's a very simple business. It's a real-world asset tokenizer, right? So we've set it up in a way to be as gold-plated as possible. And what that means is we carefully looked at how other stablecoins came into existence over time and the controversies of their collateralization, as well as their operating practices. So for example, our technology is modeled on the USDC code base, which is arguably some of the best in terms of compliance stablecoin practices that we see out there today. We're audited by one of the big four, EY, in terms of proof of reserves, and we should be able to produce and publish some attestations shortly. The whole company's structured around what's called a bearer trust, so that's the customers and ourselves, the executives, nobody can touch the money outside of the procedures that are audited once the dollars hit the bank account in the bearer trust. So for every dollar that comes in, a token is issued out. There are no fractional reserve practices. And the origin was really just finding this glaring product market fit that was calling out to us. We had one of our friends and investors back the project over 18 months ago, probably 2 years ago. It was very clear that every fiat currency will eventually have a stablecoin component. Some of them will be, dynamic and algorithmically pegged, like DAI from Maker, and some will be just straight backed by the actual dollar sitting in an audited account somewhere, such as USDC and NZDS.
Yeah, interesting. And one of the things that I suppose speaks to that one-to-one backing then, you talk about if if some stablecoins will indeed just be backed one for one by their fiat currency equivalent. And I suppose, Fran, obviously you and I, for good or bad, better or worse, we're lucky or unlucky enough to live in the beautiful New Zealand, depending on your point of view. I think you're in the South Island at the moment, spectacular place. A lot of listeners won't have been there, but they've probably seen the pictures. The point of this, of course, my point is, I think New Zealand is, the New Zealand dollar is, in terms of global currency, it's quite well respected. It's a resilient currency. It's a trusted currency, and this surprised me. I think it's the 10th most traded currency globally. So good old New Zealand punching above its weight there. But yeah, I mean, can you speak to this? I guess users using the NZDS, that effectively means they get the benefits or the versatility of a stablecoin-based cryptocurrency with the stability and trustworthiness that is represented by New Zealand dollar backing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, historically, the New Zealand dollar has been a carry trade, and a lot of different sovereigns and institutions around the world hold some New Zealand dollars in their reserves.
Yeah.
And so all we're doing is digitizing that, tokenizing it to allow for it to be integrated into the new economy, the parallel economy of DeFi, decentralized finance, or just straight crypto. So we hope to see crypto businesses with astute treasury management practices start taking NZDS or considering it as part of their portfolio for treasury management. There's a lot of cashed up crypto companies out there, as you're aware.
Yes, indeed, there certainly are. Well, I guess it's also good just to get some wider context here, Fran. There's we'll talk more about maybe stablecoin regulation, get your thoughts on that maybe later on. But just more broadly, how do you think about the importance of stablecoins in this new and emerging parallel economy, as I think you described it?
Look, I mean, once something is digitized, and I don't mean, ones and zeros in a bank account, but properly digitized, then it can be programmed, right? So it goes through this process of dematerialization and democratization. I don't think that centralized stablecoin producers such as Techemynt are democratizing the New Zealand dollar. I think we're simply digitizing it to allow for new tooling to exist. And I'll give you a very quick example. Like, currently all New Zealand deposits in any bank account, if you get a long-term deposit, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, the interest rate on that is frankly laughable, right? It's arguably less than inflation at this time.
Yeah, a lot less, yes.
So by digitizing it and plugging it into this new ecology, we are able to produce interest rates through our partnerships that far exceed what is available through the legacy system. The additional benefit is that you are self-custodying it. So yes, there is counterparty risk in the sense that you send dollars to the bearer trust, and then we issue out a representative note, which is the New Zealand dollar stablecoin token. But you hold that yourself, and then you can stake it yourself and be in control of your own yields or interest rate payments. So the first example of that is the decentralized forex markets that is emerging called DFX, which we've partnered with, which is offering double digits interest rates per year. And again, it's self-custodial, which is quite appealing to a lot of crypto natives, which is a growing sector, exponentially growing.
Yeah. Look, it really is. And well, speaking of DFX, Fran, so yeah, I know a little bit about DFX, but the best way to understand it at a high level, I think, is the same way that when we're talking about, I guess, currency trading in terms of fiat currencies, then you need a foreign exchange to kind of facilitate those trades. So the way I understand DFX is it's kind of like it's like a decentralized version of that. So it's more, but it specializes in the trading of stablecoins. Is that correct?
It's a money market, right? The money markets are $1 trillion per, sometimes per day in terms of volume and put through and velocity of money and all the rest in the real space. So you end up with a bunch of interdealer brokers and all kinds of middlemen that charge fees for the exchange of, say, British pounds to euros or whatever the pair is. So with the advent of automated market makers, the AMM, such as, the multi-billion-dollar Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, all of those very large automated market makers, DFX saw the market opportunity to create a pure stablecoin swap facility. So they have two components to their business, which is, I like nice, clean, simple businesses like DFX. So one, they allow for the quick and easy swap between different stablecoins. So you can swap New Zealand dollars to stablecoin to US dollar stablecoin, or euros or Turkish lira, or a whole range of FX trades can be done. And so their system charges a small fee for each swap. And then that fee is basically how the yield is produced. So instead of a bunch of middlemen and human beings sort of taking those swap fees, which amounts to, in the real world, billions of dollars a year or more, this is democratized where those that are adding liquidity to the pairs, you can take your New Zealand dollar stablecoin, stake it, get an interest rate, but you're actually providing liquidity between USDC and NZDS for other people to go and swap between. And then those fees in a roundabout way basically make their way back to rewarding those that have put up the liquidity in the first place. Does that make sense? So you've got a utility at one end, and that utility is powered by the utility at the other end, which is the swaps.
Yeah, it does, Fran. And I guess just quickly, what are the risks involved? Any apart from, I suppose, the basic smart contract risks? Anything else that can go wrong with something like DFX, or fairly straightforward?
Yeah. So the risks are as follows. You obviously have technological risks of the DFX platform, and we're very happy to see some exhaustive audits. And keep in mind that this is the advent of the AMM was a couple of years ago. 1 month in crypto is like a month on the NASDAQ in terms of progress. So 2 years, a lot occurred. And for all intents and purposes, you can consider automated market makers kind of on their third generation now, and the code base is widely reviewed and audited. A lot of the different businesses use the same safe, proven code base. Yep. So there's always a technical risk there, but you can actually insure against technical failures through companies such as Nix,
yes,
and other sort of insurers of DeFi platforms. And then the only other risk, effectively, is the swap rate between New Zealand dollars and the pair that we're offering stakers, which is USDC, because you can't have a single stake pool. You have to have two sides of the pair for the system to work. So when you add NZDS into the pool, it's important to note that when you withdraw, you will be withdrawing the ratio of US dollars and NZ dollars proportional to whatever the pool ratio is at the time of withdrawal. So there's some NZDS USD kind of FX rates risk in that regard. But theoretically, that should be far less than the yield produced by staking in the first place.
Yeah. And there'll be a minimum lockup time?
Yeah, the FX is great. You can jump in and out, swap from one currency to another, stake for a day, a month, a year, withdraw anytime. So, there's no hedge fund on the planet that allows you instant redemption, which is part of the appeal of DeFi.
Yeah, that's right. I actually spoke to Nick Carter about this, so a lot of listeners will know who Nick Carter is, reasonably prominent Bitcoiner on crypto Twitter, and Nick also runs Castle Island Ventures. It's his own fund, I think, and they're backers of DFX, and so I sent Nick just like a DM on Twitter and just said, I just said, why are you backing DFX, basically? And he said, Well, Andy, thanks for asking. We think stablecoins are a pretty huge idea. We wrote a paper on this on 2020, which is on our Castle Island Ventures website. And we think blockchains will end up being global clearinghouses for FX as more stablecoins are created. Mostly they're dollars right now, but we expect many other sovereign currencies will be tokenized, and ultimately we expect a highly liquid global FX market for currencies on chain. And that's kind of what you're talking about, right, Fran?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, effectively, all existing currencies are going to be tokenized, and we're quite well progressed down that path. I mean, the real risk of any stable coin is outside of the technical risk and the FX rates and all the legacy stuff, is the actual collateralization or the purchasing power of any given fiat currency. Right, so this isn't central bank digital currencies. It's not a new type of money. It is just simply taking the existing money that exists with the current fiscal and monetary policy of whatever, say in our case, the New Zealand Reserve Bank does, and making that available in a digital medium which can be exchanged far faster and quicker and cheaper than, say, cash or even the legacy banking system. So we view it as infrastructure and tooling, and we expect, the real magic to occur when the application layer kicks in, when people start building not just yield-producing kind of solutions, but applications for everyday payments integrated into the legacy kind of point-of-sale systems and stuff like that. We're already seeing that working tremendously well in a range of other countries, particularly layer 2. Sort of blockchain networks with cheap fees and instant transfers and stuff like that. But Techemynt is a tokenizer of real-world assets. We will not be moving into that sort of application layer. We will be possibly incubating and supporting businesses that use the New Zealand dollar stablecoin within their wallets and systems and software.
Yes, very nice. And I've got in my notes, Fran, that you are talking with other entities such as Blockchain, Link, and Loopring for market making and some other services, products, and so on, I believe. Do you want to speak to that?
You're asking what's the scoop, eh? Yeah, sure.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so in order to create a healthy market for a new tokenized currency, you need to have the fundamentals in place. So obviously having a nice clean issuance and redemption system, right? So the Mint, you can KYC AML CFT through the Mint and do transactions in or out for over 100,000 US dollars. We've loaded up some liquidity through a subsidiary called Techemynt Markets to digital asset exchange, which I'm also the chairman of, so that there's a New Zealand dollar stablecoin to New Zealand dollar pair on a centralized compliant exchange. We now have DFX, which is a decentralized exchange, USDC to NZDS. And Blockchain is another decentralized exchange, which will facilitate a BTC, NZDS, ETH, NZDS, and I believe USDC, NZDS pairs. So think of Techemynt as the primary market for the actual issuance. Dollars come in, tokens go out. And then you have these secondary markets that are the infrastructure required to create a healthy marketplace. So users can come along, they can buy small amounts of our tokens through a number or growing number of exchanges. Those are on-ramps and entry points. They can do so with New Zealand dollars through DACID or crypto shortly through Blockchain. And then they can swap NZDS through DFX to get a yield, or they can swap it into other stable coins through the swap facility on DFX. So that's kind of the fundamental primary and secondary market layout at this time. And so we've been beefing up our business development resources and having a number of discussions with industry participants, because we're kind of part of the furniture here. We've been part of the industry for a long time. I can't really name too many names, but we are going to see other platforms that offer a yield for deposits of NZDS. We want to increase the number of third parties where you can take your New Zealand dollar stablecoins and receive a yield for simply deposits or staking. We want to increase the number of compliant centralized exchanges that add pairs for a growing number of different cryptocurrencies to the New Zealand stablecoin. And of course, to have liquidity slosh around and be efficient, we have partnered with a large market maker to basically cycle from the primary to the secondary and between the different secondary, DEXs and centralized exchanges. Currently, and it's in the process of being fixed, is the DFX pool for NZDS is unbalanced. We've heard a number of users asking what's the story there. Just want to reassure that if it's not fixed by the time this podcast is published, it will be fixed very shortly with our new market maker going online and cycling those liquidities and the ratios of those pools. So you can kind of see the trajectory here of, first focusing on a healthy market for NZDS, increasing the number of places to receive a yield. And then after that, we should see some applications coming online which allow users to store and transfer NZDS within wallets, as well as many other different types of environments. The great thing about DeFi, Andy, if I can just sort of rant on here, is, once all DeFi projects are hungry for more utility, they have their own tokenomics, right? And so the industry is very open and receptive to integrating. Some don't even need to speak with us. They could simply take the code base, it's all open source, as you know, the actual contract address for NZDS, and make it available for display or use within whatever third-party DeFi environment and platform. Others require some technical integrations, which we're currently scoping and working through. So as these integrations occur, NZDS simply becomes available and visible in more and more places over time, increasing its usefulness. So then we can look to, move beyond NZDS to other real-world assets, which is the core of the Techemynt business. We just want to prove NZDS first and go down the legacy route, the sort of classical route of all stablecoin businesses of getting integrated into every website on the planet, from CoinMarketCap to Bog Finance to CoinGecko, all of that display stuff first, then the DeFi interest-producing platforms, exchanges, and liquidity begets liquidity, and the whole thing snowballs and becomes self-sufficient pretty quickly.
Nice, Fran. I like the sound of that. And well, I suppose, for that vision to play out, we'll need maybe just a little bit more positive stablecoin regulation around the world would probably be another positive step in this direction. I'm sure you probably keep an eye on this, but it's been a kind of fast evolving, but increasingly relevant, I would say, topic of discussion and politics really around the world. Particularly, I'm really talking about what's happening in the US. There's a lot of an increasing number of politicians, I think, on both sides of the aisle that are either, you've got the likes of Elizabeth Warren on kind of one side, she's very anti-Bitcoin and very anti, Facebook trying to do a stable coin and everything. And then you've got the likes of Ted Cruz and various others that are suddenly very positive on Bitcoin, and not just positive, but very articulate and quite insightful even, which you just wouldn't have seen this kind of level of discussion in, mainstream US politics even 2 years ago. But everything feels like everything's speeding up. So look, this is a roundabout way, I guess, Fran, of saying, are you watching the developing stablecoin discussions and regulation around the world, and what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I probably watch this space far more than most people. Everything has changed in the last couple of years. Very recently, you're talking about two different things here. One is stablecoin regulation, the other is just pure crypto in general.
Sure.
and the changing sentiment and sort of all the different talking heads from both sides of the aisle kind of thing. And their commentary recently has been quite eye-opening. As of 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin basically became a national security consideration.
Yes.
So we've seen some pretty major players in countries states that they have advantages in mining Bitcoin, that they're going to be adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets as a government, as a sovereign. So that's been quite a fundamental shift. I'm incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. I expect to see a number of countries this year make Bitcoin legal tender, and I continue to expect a hard pushback from those that are affected by such titanic shifts and changes, mainly the International Monetary Fund and the legacy system, World Bank, so on and so forth. We're already seeing commentary about how this is all a terrible idea. Because they have something at stake, and this new system is offering a plan B. But when it comes to stable coins, I don't view that in context of cryptocurrencies. The technology is obviously the same, and the features of transferability and auditing, and it's absolutely insane to say that cryptocurrencies are used for nefarious means in bulk, because it's you have to be a pretty dumb criminal to use the world's most transparent and traceable ledger on the planet, right? Like you can trace these transactions and layer in metadata and find out pretty damn quickly, a lot more than people realize about those transactions. So, to me, tokenization simply represents the eradication of the bottlenecks. And hopefully that allows for reducing the risk of global systemic risk, so that you end up with more transparency and visibility into global finances that way. So yes, we're seeing some interesting regulation. Obviously, the megacorps try to build their own global currency. Needless to say, that was shot down because a company that has more revenue than half the world's small countries per annum, building their own global borderless private currency would be an unacceptable level of risk to many sovereign nations. So instead, we're seeing different regulation and stances in different countries. So you'll find that the Commonwealth countries are all in tune about a number of different global subjects, including stablecoins, and you'll find that other countries, look at the United States, it's so divided at the moment. You've got certain states that are advocating for financial freedom and others that want to have more regulation effectively. So it's going to be interesting watching this space evolve over the next couple of years. I think this year is the critical one. And we're going to find a fork in the road. We're going to see some countries doing completely different things to other countries. This is all going to take a good 10 to 15 years to kind of smooth out in terms of having some form of cohesion on the subject of how cryptocurrencies and stablecoins and everything else are integrated into society.
Yeah, fantastic thoughts, Fran, and look, I very much agree. And it's that old saying goes something like, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And I think we're very much at the and then they fight you stage at the moment, as the kind of the armies on both sides are rallied.
Again, I just have to stress that Bitcoin and stablecoins are fundamentally different in both regulation, design, so on and so forth. So, I've got my opinions about where Bitcoin's going and how it's going to be used in the future. But it's important to note that without having, the ability to control the future of the world and in all regulation, Techemynt is going way beyond and above to be as compliant and gold-plated as possible. It took us 9 months to get through the EY audit, for example. We could have tokenized many other different real-world assets in the meanwhile. We've chosen to focus on making sure that NZDS is safe, useful. You can get a compliant yield out of it on your own, and I think we've done a great job at that. It's a fantastic team wrapped around the project at this time. We should see a lot more development and sort of a regular, every month, if not more often, some news about NZDS is being integrated somewhere. Also, just for the community, right? So NZDS is a token, and every token has a community. We just want to assure the community that they probably haven't seen the visibility to date of the project and how it's going. So we'll be putting together regular newsletters, industry commentary, that kind of thing, to just let people know, hey, we're integrated into blockchain. Hey, we've got a new market maker, or hey, we're having a new liquidity partner, so on and so forth. And the main channels will predominantly probably be Telegram and Twitter, as well as a little bit of LinkedIn. So we've just sort of put additional resources into marketing and communications to let the world know about all the exciting business development we've had tremendous success achieving over the last, quietly in the background over the last few months.
Awesome. Well, this has been an excellent discussion, Fran. I suppose we should just finish off by, please tell people where they can go to learn more. What is the Techemynt website? Where should they go? And also maybe shout out DFX as well.
Yeah, the guys at DFX, thank you very much for all your hard work and dedication. It's a great platform there. Today is the 14th of February, so by the time this publishes, the new Techemynt.com website may be live. It should be a lot more concise, describing the value proposition in a much clearer way. You can purchase NZDS in bulk by going through compliance directly at Techemynt.com. There's a portal there, a wizard to run through. Or you can simply get smaller amounts out of DASIT, Digital Asset Exchange, or DASITX.com. And then very shortly, obviously, Loopring, Blockchain, and a number of other third-party, both centralized and DeFi platforms will make NZDS available for swapping, purchase, and staking, so on and so forth.
Sounds great, Fran. Well, thanks for that. I reckon it's it's about 20 to 1 on Monday, Valentine's Day here in New Zealand, but it's Super Bowl Sunday, most other places in the world. So yeah, probably, is it too early for a beer, Fran?
For me, it's way too early for a beer, but hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere is an expression I heard once.
It is. All right. Thanks for coming on, Fran. We'll do this again soon. All the best and bye for now.
Thanks again, Andy. Okay, take care.